Hey Pisces, you get a bonus one because the last one was kind of brief and non-specific, so I'll do you a bonus because it is your season. Make Celtic Cross for Pisces. Ooh. Oh yeah, Pisces, that's Jupiter, Wheel of Fortune. Good fortune, a new fortunate beginning, turn of the wheel. I like that first card out. You have some Dharma coming up. Karmic gifts. But it is your first card out. This is your energy. Ooh. What's stopping you from that? Two of Wands. That's a collaboration, trying to expand. Maybe a lack of a collaboration, a lack of an expansion. Maybe it's who you've been working with, or the people you've been around, or the ties that you have around you. Been blocking your Dharma and your luck a bit. The cause of your situation. Your subconscious desires is to get out of your head. Trying to get out of this fear and anxiety. Self-doubt, worry. Perhaps a mental state, a particular mental state that you feel like it's been holding you back. You've been trying to get out of some kind of, possibly a entanglement. With somebody that's not exactly very mentally or emotionally stable. Someone who's been trying to project a lot of emotions or those emotional imbalance upon you. There's a lot of people out there right now not feeling their best, not emotionally stable. Someone who has a lot of fears and anxieties or self-doubt. And you've been soaking up a lot of that psychic energy. You want to release yourself from that. Possibly a lot of fears and worries about your own states, about your financial situation, about your future, about your stability, what you're going to do, how you're going to be able to make it. Maybe there's people around you or something that you're consuming, as in like certain media that's been quelling a lot of this fears and anxieties that you have. Maybe it's a particular person. Maybe it's particular relationships. Maybe it's all the responsibilities that you have that you're unsure if you're able to maintain. The fear of losing it all. Of everything that you work so hard to build and to obtain in the first place. there's a relationship around you, or maybe a couple of relationships, or an entanglement, or a partnership, a business partnership maybe, or a family relationship or love relationship around you that's been feeling very oppressive. You've been feeling a lot of that negativity or anxiety or this self-doubt, and you started soaking that up. Maybe somebody who's been projecting a lot of their own fears and anxieties and putting the blame on you in some reason as to the reasons of all of their misfortunes, and putting you down in ways, or making you not feel good enough, or putting some kind of sense of guilt. You know, you got to be careful about the people that you have around you. And it's not only what is said, but what is the intention of what is said underneath. Is there somebody around that put a lot of confusion on you, that would throw you off balance? Or are there things that people would demand of you that you weren't exactly willing to give, and maybe you were very straightforward on how you felt about it or what you really wanted? And perhaps they would do a lot of manipulative tactics, you know, be negative, throw negative insult, or say something kind of disparaging on top of something, as in like, on top of like along with a flattery, or like a backhanded comment or a compliment. And you started to feel really unstable yourself, and you were unsure if the feeling of general unease started when this person started to come around you, or you started dealing with this person again, or was this a state that you were feeling when this person came around, before this person came around? In the past, you were very protective of your energy because it looks like you were trying to manifest something, bring something into existence. And in the past, you've had a lot of toxic energies around that seem like they would try to bring you down, try to put a lot of burdens on you, or betrayed you in some kind of way, and it made you really untrusting. It made you feel like you had to put up your defenses and protect yourself and your energy. And maybe you did have a weak point in your life where this person came around the right time, or they offered you something in particular as a way to get into your life, or give you some kind of offer that they never really intended to keep. Or gave you an offer that they were unwilling or unable to even keep because they had some kind of hidden agenda. Maybe somebody sees you as their luck and destiny, and you saw them as maybe the reason why you were having such ill luck and issues, because maybe this person demanded a lot from you. And maybe this person got quite hostile when they didn't feel like they were getting what they thought that they deserved from you, although they didn't really offer you much in return. In fact, what they wanted, or it wasn't exactly aligned with what they were putting out, but they felt really entitled to it. Or maybe you felt like down and out or out of luck, and when this friend or person that you kind of fell out with or you stopped talking to started to come around, you felt like you needed some kind of extra assistance or some kind of extra support. Maybe even, a friend or emotional support, or maybe they were playing the victim in some kind of way where they said they were asking for some kind of emotional support from you. But then whatever this emotional support that they wanted because they were feeling wounded, you decided to reach out, like you decided to meet them halfway, be there for them a bit, always the savior. And you decided to go ahead and offer them a little bit of that support, but that little bit of support was never enough. At least they didn't feel like they did. And it was a lot more than you were willing or even able to give them. And perhaps they started to play a lot of manipulations on you. Bring a lot of petty fights. Bother you, pick fights with you. And when they didn't get what they want, as in that attention, they try to bother you so much in order to make sure that they got the attention that they thought that they deserved from you, and you weren't really having it. You wanted to have a friend. You wanted to offer some kind of emotional support. Perhaps you wanted to ignore a lot of the mental or emotional conflict that you were going through to help somebody out as a way of a distraction from what you got going on. And you decided to meet them halfway because you saw they were in need, so you wanted to help somebody else out. And you wanted to break from your own mental conflict. And instead of dealing with the things that you should have, you kind of let yourself be distracted by this energy, this really entitled energy. Maybe somebody felt like they weren't enough. Maybe you did. Maybe you both did at the time. And maybe you thought you both offered each other some kind of benefit to have each other around at the time, but somebody wanted too much. And somebody was playing a lot of dirty tactics in order to keep your attention. And whatever small distraction that you wanted or you're willing to give at the time, because you had every intention to go back with what you wanted to keep attention to, what you knew that you had to go back to, because, you never intended it to be like a full-time job, but this person was a full-time job and they expected you to be a full-time worker. But it's like, man, I didn't apply for that job. If anything, it was like an on-call position at your own discretion, and if you felt like going in, then you would, but you only meant to offer a little bit. But this person expected more and more and more. And this is a person who became really codependent, played a lot of mind games and dirty tactics in order to get the attention that they wanted. Things started going wrong. They started pulling you away from your own responsibilities. They started pestering you, starting picking fights with you. When they didn't get the attention that they wanted, you had someone who was kind of spoiled or entitled. Perhaps they were an only child and they were used to a lot more attention that they felt they usually get or deserved from you. Or perhaps they were going through really weak moments and you became like an unhealthy distraction for them and a source of supply to feed their ego. Maybe this was a projection as well. That maybe in some ways that you needed that supply yourself to know that, you know, if you were helping somebody, then that was a benefit as a validation to yourself. And maybe this person was used to having a lot of attention put on them, and when they felt like they were being ignored or avoided, they started to show kind of like a lot of negative aspects of themselves when they felt like they weren't getting what they wanted. And all of this started to quell up to the surface, and it became really apparent of the kind of person that they were and the kind of energy that they expected from you and the kind of hell that they would bring into your life or bring you off balance in order to attain the energy that they were used to. And you're like, man, I just wanted to offer a little help and assistance for a little while. But then, yeah, it became too much. And it's like, it was like a way of punishment that they weren't getting what they wanted from you in particular, that they wanted to make sure that they were maybe even fucking up your day, throwing off your focus. You know, they became really self-centered into like, oh, well, what about me? What do I want? What do you have to do? Why didn't you come over? You should come over. And then it was like every other day they were texting and you're telling them, I'm busy, I got things to do, I'm busy, you know, and they weren't really very sensitive to your position or what you needed. In fact, it was a way of punishing you to build some kind of unease within your life or throw you off balance as a way to punish you for not giving freely what they thought that they deserved. Things started to fall apart in your life and you noticed it and you're like, okay, you know what? You're trying to pull on my energy. You're trying to make me unbalanced. You're trying to keep me hostage in some kind of way. I'm going to let this go. Because whatever this is, it became really unhealthy and toxic, and you're ready to bring yourself out of this toxic energy because you use this as a little bit of escape from your issues, but then this person became, it's like you fed the monster and you poked a bear and, you know, the monster was still hungry. And you decided to move away from this because, I mean, they were not very concerned what they want, and if they didn't get what they want, they wanted to make sure to ruin your day by putting out these hostile remarks, by downplaying you and what you have to do and your abilities and, you know, even your responsibilities. While they were just sitting around doing nothing, while you probably have a lot of shit to do, you probably have a lot of responsibilities in comparison, but yet this person still felt entitled to it. You don't really take selfishness all that well, or this entitlement to your time and your energy. And you decided to drop this burden. You feel like you're done with it. If anyone brings you this general unease, this mental and emotional conflict, trying to unload their emotional burdens and do an emotional dump on you and to bring down your energy, it started to really affect you in your life, and you felt like you had to take back your power because they were really trying to run your life by, you know, like this person was entitled. They felt like they could control your energy. There was a partnership that was really detrimental to your progress and what you needed to do. And this person was very indulgent. This person wants what they want, and once they get it, that they were gone. Page of Clubs, Page of Wands, Knight of Wands, Knight of Wands. Someone who comes in hot and heavy and quick, expects a whole lot, gets what they want, and leaves. There's no dedication, there's no understanding, there's no real collaboration with the situation. And the moment that you saw that this person really didn't care what you wanted, because they felt ego hurt, that you didn't offer what they thought they deserved freely, then they decided to act like a hostile jerk. And you're like, well, you're not going to get what you want just because you want it. Like, I've already been through this. And yeah, they may have played the victim mentality in order to get it from you. In order to pull you in the first place. And you decided to move away from this. Because you saw how selfish that they were. Entitled that they were. And if they really didn't have a lot of respect and understanding with what you were going on, then they really didn't have a lot of respect and understanding to your needs in general. Someone selfish and indulgent. Someone who doesn't commit to a lot of things. Someone who's really flippant in the things that they want, but demanding of other people's times and demanding of dedication from other people because they were arrogant. They felt that they deserved a lot while giving absolutely nothing and very little. You decided to call judgment on this. There's a need to have better judgment within certain relationships in your life, within certain energies. This can be, I think, a friend. And perhaps you've had certain energies that come into your life. Maybe even a friend that, you know, you knew, you grew up with, that you haven't talked to in a while, that came back. Or, you know, you met somebody who is going through a rough time. And maybe you've met people within that energy when you were kind of in a down point within your life. In need of your own distractions, and you would kind of attract these certain energies towards you. But you're hoping to have better judgment in order to stop attracting these certain energies. And one is, if you are busy, being more stronger into your positions. If you're busy, you're busy. If you're not willing to give something, you don't give an inch or a compromise to someone who's uncompromising. And now that this has been a kind of a pattern of the type of people, you know, kind of entitled or selfish, you hope to have better judgment. So you stop meeting these types of energies. Perhaps you've even had family like this that came around that same time. Venus retrograde was a bitch. And perhaps it drew and it opened the floodgates into a certain kinds of energies or people that you've kind of tried to stay protective against, but you were trying to be a little more, I don't know, less judgmental or less punishing within your nature. And because you are super empathic, but sometimes, you know, people can see that, and sometimes people take advantage of that. You fear that there's some kind of judgment that should be had upon you if you don't meet other people's demands, because perhaps there was people who was very demanding of you throughout your life and they would try to punish you because of it. And you hope to have better judgment into not letting these types of people in. And perhaps this was a pattern, like I said, of the type of energies that would come around you. And that's why you became so amazingly defensive, but you started to question yourself again, like this was an unfinished business. And for Venus retrograde, it makes you think about these connections that you feel, that the universe felt like there was an unclosed door or something didn't quite work out, and you decided to open that door again. And the same thing that happened, you know, unfortunately the people doesn't change, and they're not going to change. And you keep on, this is like a continuous lesson that you have to relearn every time, because you have such an empathic, caring nature, or that need for a distraction to distract you from a little bit of what you have to do, because it all seems so overwhelming to you. But then the little distraction that you wanted, you opened the door to a lot of this over demanding people that wanted a lot more. And it was kind of a settling energy, or an over-compromising energy, that you would try to compromise with energies that were uncompromising. And it opened the door to non-compromising people that they showed you in the past that were non-compromising. And that's why you kind of shut them out. And it's like you give these people an inch, they'll take a mile. You try to gray rock them and they try to punish you for it, and they try to throw you off balance and start fights with you. But you don't have responsibilities to this people, but perhaps they would play these mind games, and you would try to handle things really equitably, or at least really lightly, to the point where you wouldn't assert yourself enough. You would try to be nice, but maybe even if you did, then they would still overrun your boundaries again. And if they showed you this pattern in the past, you have to remember the lesson that they taught you before, and not get surprised if you let them back in that they will behave the same. The outcome, what you'll gain from this experience: Page of Clubs, waiting for your ships to come in, waiting for something better, no longer settling for people who are dedicated into throwing off your concentration, your path, and just fucking up your day because they feel like you owe them something when they've given you nothing. Because this is the kind of energy that they are. These are the kind of people that they are. And if they're the kind of people that they are, that's the kind of energy and environment that they create. And Their over-demanding and entitled ways will always expect more from other people than what they deserve. And every time you deal with people like this, it starts throwing off your financial abundance, and you kind of financially get drained in one way or the other. Things start to go wrong. You start to avoid things. It becomes a heavy tax on your emotional state, your mental state. You're not able to concentrate on work, and slowly things get out of control. Maybe there's a need to focus more on the things that you need to do and be unrelenting on the people who have in history showed you that they are just selfish and entitled, and they kind of just want what they want. And I would want to have like a better hope or of people and humanity and the feelings that they can change, but and perhaps deep down you knew that people don't change, but it's like this feeling of hope that maybe it will change, maybe it will be better. And that's the kind of hope that you would hold open, that would kind of break your heart all over again and leave you depleted in a way. It's time to hope for something better. That's the outcome. You're hoping for something better. You have plans of something better. You want to have some kind of peace, or they want to offer some kind of peace to you. I feel like you do. You want to offer some kind of peace. You want some kind of collaboration. You want things to be easy, but you can't expect an easy environment with temperamental or overly demanding people. You just can't. And it's unfortunate that people don't change, but unfortunately it's the truth. And it's like this naivety or hoping for the best or holding on to some self-limiting belief that that things will be different, that they'll change, but they never did. History has told you. Maybe you're gonna this person really kept you stuck. And you're ready to pull away from this because you saw how damaging that this was to your life and how much it threw you off path. And you could blame these kind of energies or people for so long until you have to gain some accountability into not only is that they misled you or they demanded too much from you, but the fact that you were too compromising when they were over demanding. And perhaps it was because you grew up like this. You've had parents and family members like this, and you've always just kind of did the Pisces thing of trying to smooth things over and, you know, try to appease the situation while not losing yourself too much. But then these over demanding people would totally run over your boundaries like they always did. The Emperor underneath. What you don't see, what you don't know. You could be in Pisces, Aries cusp. You're waiting for an Emperor. You're waiting for someone who is not so codependent, somebody who is self-reliant, somebody who doesn't have an ego issue, And perhaps there is a deficiency in your ego that you have to overdo and overwork and overachieve for other people's love. And perhaps it's that need from being rejected or undervalued or unloved in some kind of way that would kind of bring this cloud over you into trying to overwork for that love or feeling of being needed in some kind of way. But you're done with working with codependent energies and people from your past who've already shown you who they were. Because when people show you who they are, the only thing that you can do is believe them. They were wounded in the past, and maybe you were too. So they decided to offer you something, a Page of Pentacles, but a Page of Pentacles is like a message about offering you something, a quid pro quo, offer you something, a message about, you know, maybe helping you out in order to get something in return. Maybe they decided to make you some promises that they never intended to keep, because maybe they were in need of some kind of supply. These are very narcissistic people who are entitled and selfish, but it left you stagnant, maybe just as stagnant as they were. It made you lose focus on your path, on your gifts, and you started to cure all of the negative energy and karma that they have with themselves from their own negative thoughts and thinking. So people that breadcrumb you because they have ego issues, they don't have a lot, and they don't really want to offer anything. And they want to offer as little as possible to get as much as they can. And perhaps this person decided to give you a little bit while trying to take a lot. They were trying to block your movement and keep you stuck, but you decided to pull yourself out of that codependent situation. And once you pulled yourself away, you decided to be more logical into your approach on if you should deal with this person, and start being a little more logical. And with the Two of Swords, this is needing to use a head and heart decision, a intuitive and logical approach, using your left and right brain. And you decided to block this energy out because you felt like it was draining the life out of you, psychic vampires. And you decided to drop the burdens. Because this person, these people, these past relationships, they would emotionally dump on you, and you would start to feel the effects of that. And they would be over demanding that you would be there for them all the time. And it's people who don't deal with their own shit and who just try to dump them on you. But the only thing that you can do is not accept it, because it leaves you out in the cold. Perhaps somebody feels left out in the cold from you now that you dropped the burden. And now you're just left, after you left this situation, you dropped the burden, and you're seeing the damage that it inflicted upon yourself and your state of mind and your emotional state, and you're ready to, it's like you have to rebuild from that again. And it did set you back a little. But we can't just blame other people for that situations, for them being narcissistic, but we have to be more aware and learn from past mistakes. And I don't say hate yourself or blame yourself, but if you already learned a lesson, you don't have to put yourself through it continuously again and be surprised at the result. I went through a situation just like this, believe me. And I don't want to be all judgy and nitpicky, because I just went through situations like this. For Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde was a bitch. It really was. But we can't put all that blame